Hey guys, this is Heroic Flamingo and welcome to my Guild Wars 2 class guide for the Dragonhunter. So in this video I'm going to be looking at the Dragonhunter's exclusive weapon and each of the individual weapon skills that comes with. I'll also be taking a look at the Dragonhunter's unique healing, utility and elite skills. I'll be looking at how it overhauls the base mechanics for the Guardian, and then I'll be having a closer look at the elite specialization, looking at each individual trait, seeing how you can make your Dragonhunter even more powerful. So if you're interested in playing as a Dragonhunter, or you already are and you want to know more, then sit tight and we'll get started right now. Okay, so before we go into the detail, I just wanted to give you a quick profession overview for the Dragonhunter. The Dragonhunter is the first elite specialization for the Guardian, unlocked in the Heart of Thorns expansion. As dragons continue stirring in the land of Tyria, Guardians have been honing their light into a physical nature, sharp and deadly enough to pierce scales. The Dragonhunter specialization will look to viciously purge the lands of dragons and their ilk, with longbow and traps now at hand. As their prowess with light has increased, they are able to physically manifest their virtues into the world. So basically, this means that the Dragonhunter is going to have access to a new type of skills called traps. He'll also be able to wield the longbow, which we'll have a look at in a minute. And then also it completely changes the virtues, giving them new, more powerful effects than the base Guardian. So we'll be going into all that in this video. So what we're going to look at now is the weapon skills. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to do was have a look at the brand new weapon for the Dragonhunter. This is the longbow. So I've equipped this and it's given me 5 new weapon skills to have a look at. So I'm going to have a look at these one by one, see what they do, and then demonstrate them. So your first number 1 ability on your longbow for the Dragonhunter is Puncture Shot. So this is fire an arrow that can bounce to enemies behind your target. If an arrow hits a second target, all enemies struck are crippled. So as you can see, it's going to hit multiple enemies. Let's see, maximum additional bounce is 1. It's got cripple there, so minus 50% movement speed. And it's got a range of 1200, so it's very long range, this, so we can use it from quite far away, so it allows you a pretty good range option for your Guardian. So let's try this out right now. As you can see, that's bouncing there. So if you do it when it's near someone, then it bounces from one to the other, as we just saw there. And as I said, if an arrow hits a second target, all enemies struck are crippled. So it's only if it hits an extra enemy that's going to cripple both. So you want to use that if you've got some enemies close together. You can use it far away and you can shoot at them. Your second weapon ability is True Shot. So this is charge up energy, creating a powerful attack that pierces through enemies. So this is a range 1500. I've never actually seen that before, so this is the first 1500 range attack I've seen, so that's from really far away. So that's really cool, so it allows you to attack from really far away, and it charges it up, creates a powerful attack that pierces through enemies, so it can hit up to 5 enemies, pierces and does some decent damage. So let's give this a go, see if we can hit a couple of them. Alright, so it seems to hit it in sort of in a straight line, so I think you're going to have to actually line them up if you want to hit both. So I'll just quickly try that again. We're going to charge that up. Boom. There you go. And it went through and it hit that guy as well. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, we can do that from really far away as well. So that could be pretty cool to start a fight when they can't hit you back because they're so far away. So your third weapon ability is Deflecting Shot. This is a ground targeted ability that fires a missile that knocks back enemies and blocks missiles. So as you can see, it's from 1200 range, it's got a radius of 120 on the ground, blocks missiles and knocks enemies back. So let's do a demonstration of this. So if I stand back here and I use this, so this one is targeted, so instead of actual ground targeting like on a certain area, it shoots it from where you are, but it's got 1200 range, so it should be able to hit people from quite far away. So if I give that a go, boom. There you go, so that's pretty cool. So it'll knock back all enemies that it goes towards there, and it also, as you saw, it created like a barrier. So if anyone's shooting projectiles at you, it's going to be blocking those projectiles while it's going towards them, and then it's going to knock back and damage all enemies in the area as well. So that's pretty cool. Your number 4 ability is Symbol of Energy. So this is a symbol skill that fires a slow, arcing arrow that explodes on impact to burn targets and sear a symbol of energy into the ground. So it's another ground target ability, so it's going to explode when it hits them, it's going to burn targets, and it's going to put a symbol of energy into the ground. So it's going to give vigor to allies. So 50% endurance regeneration is going to burn enemies. So it's going to have positive effect on allies, negative effect on enemies. So that's what we want to see. So let's give this a go. This is a normal ground target ability like this. So you aim it, let go, boom. You see, so it's sort of slow moving, arcing thing. There you go. As you can see, that's burning the enemies there. And if we go into that circle as well, any of our allies, it's going to buff them as well with extra endurance. So that's really cool. So our fifth and final weapon ability for the longbow is Hunter's Ward. So form your arrows into a barrier and deal damage at the location. So as we can see, it's got a range of 1200, radius of 360, it cripples enemies. So let's have a little look at this. So I think this, you have to channel this over a few seconds. So let's see. So it's a really big radius there, so you can hit a lot of enemies. So if they're all bunched up, we use this. There you go. So as you can see, channel it over a couple of seconds. Everyone in that area is going to be crippled, as we saw there. Really cool. So it's going to deal damage and cripple all the enemies in the area. So that's a pretty cool AoE effect there if you're in a group. So this is a pretty good ranged option for the Dragonhunter here, so definitely something that you might want to put into your build, and 5 cool new weapon skills to boot. So now that's all of the new weapon skills for a Dragonhunter. So the next thing I want to look at is a new healing skill. Okay, so now I want to look at the Dragonhunter's new and exclusive healing skill. So if I go to my number 6 here, it's the trap skill. So this is our first look at the new trap type of skills that the Dragonhunter can use. So this skill is called Purification, and it heals yourself and imbue your light into a trap. Enemies that trigger this trap are damaged and blinded as the light returns to you for a second heal. As you can see, there's an initial heal amount there, which isn't too much, and then there's a trap heal, so you definitely want to use it as a trap and actually have the enemy trigger it, because that's going to be where most of your heal is weighted. So if you put it down on the floor and an enemy walks onto it, they're going to trigger it, and they're going to be damaged, blinded, and you're going to get your second heal. So let's give this a go, shall we? So if I put it into this guy, and he's going to move into it. So there you go. As you can see, he's got blindness on him. We've got regeneration and would have healed ourselves as well. So it's a pretty cool healing skill there. So it's got a few effects, and it also, unlike sort of your normal healing skill, it's just going to heal you. It does have a negative effect on the enemy as well, making them blind, so they're going to miss attacks. So it's going to help you from that perspective as well. So that's the new healing skill. So now I want to have a look at the new Dragonhunter utility skills. Alright, so now I want to look at the Dragonhunter's utility skills. So like all elite specializations in Guild Wars 2, the Dragonhunter has 4 unique utility skills to choose from. So let's have a look at these. So if I click here, I can see I've got a new top line here, which is 4 new abilities, all trap abilities, which is a totally new type of ability for the Guardian. So let me equip the first 3 of these, and then we'll just have a little look at what they do and then try them out. So your first one here is Test of Faith. So lay a trap that creates a ring of weapons that punishes enemies that attempt to cross their threshold. So we're going to lay this down on the floor. So as it's a trap, when an enemy enters it, so it's going to punish enemies that attempt to cross the threshold. So let's give it a go, shall we? So we'll lay it down in front of this poor guy here. There you go. As you can see there, it's crippled him. So obviously that's going to affect, so it did it again there, so as they try and go in and out of the threshold, it's going to cripple them, and obviously that's going to affect all enemies. So it's quite a good way of controlling the battlefield and basically slowing down the enemies that are trying to come into the area. So that's a pretty cool trap that you can have on your bar there. The second one is Fragments of Faith. So lay a trap that deals damage and unleashes multiple fragments into the area when triggered. Each fragment grants Aegis to allies, as long as they don't already have Aegis. So Aegis is block the next incoming attack, so that's really good. So that's going to buff your allies while damaging enemies, and it looks like it does cripple as well. So let's give this a go here. Let's lay this down. And as we can see, there you go, and there's Aegis here that basically allies can pick up, so it's going to buff all the nearby allies, as well as doing a decent amount of damage to all the enemies that come in, and crippling them as well. So it has quite a few different effects, so that's a pretty cool one as well. So our third one here, Procession of Blades. Set a trap that whirls around and damages enemies when activated. So it shows you there the trigger radius, the attack radius, and boon on traps. So when the trap's triggered as well, you get a boon, 20% critical chance increase. So that's pretty cool. So it whirls around and damages enemies when you activate it. So let's give this a go, shall we? So let's lay this down for this guy to walk into. Nice, 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 nice. You can see that span round and damaged everyone in the area, doing a good amount of damage there. And then also gives us a buff as well. So that's a really cool trap ability as well. Alright, so I'm just going to try out the fourth one now. So if I swap this for this fourth trap ability here. So this is called Light's Judgment. So lay down a trap that creates an area of pure light that reveals enemies and pierces their armor. So as you can see, it reveals them so that they can't stealth. It puts vulnerability on them. Gives a movement speed increase boon. And you can see it lasts for 8 seconds. So it's going to vulnerability and it's going to make them sharp. So let's give this a go now. Let's lay this down here. As you can see, vulnerability, and it's getting rid of any stealth. It stacks that vulnerability up, which, look at that, excellent vulnerability stacks there. So that's really powerful, as you can see. If you place that down, and like with all of these traps, it's not just going to affect one person. So if you've got an area of quite a few people, you can lay it down right in the middle of them and they're going to trigger it, and it's going to have a nice effect on all of them. So that last one there I think was the coolest one. I think that's really good. So if you're in a group situation as well, you're sticking loads of vulnerability on the enemies, you and your allies are going to be able to do more damage because they're going to be vulnerable to attack. So that's a really cool way of making this build more powerful. So that's all of the utility skills for the Dragonhunter. So now I want to show you the new and exclusive elite skill. Alright, so now I want to show you the elite skill for the Dragonhunter. So as with all elite specs, it's got its own elite skill and it's going to be another trap skill. So this one here is a pretty popular one as well, so most Dragonhunters do incorporate this into their builds. Let's try this out. So it's called Dragon's Maw. So lay a trap that pulls enemies and creates a barrier that holds them in. So this is going to be really cool. So this is going to drag all the enemies in and keep them there. So effectively, if you've got you know, spells that do AoE in a certain area around you, then you can use this to pull them in. Good crowd control move, and then you can go right in the middle of them and use like your spinning attacks and stuff like that that can damage everyone around you. Lay your symbols down maybe, which damage in an area. So we've got plenty of skills that can do that. That even with the bow, I mean, we could drag them in using a trap, and then we could then, you know, rain some arrows down on them and stuff like that. So you can pretty much link it up with any weapon to utilize any AoE skills and ground target abilities that you've got. So it's pretty cool. So let's try this out. So it is a trap, so it's on you, and then obviously so it can get triggered, so you can hit up to 5 targets. Trigger radius, and you just need to be within 180 of it. So let's give this a go. If I lay it down here, bam, there you go. So it pulled them in. As you can see, it's a bit different on the target golems because it doesn't actually keep them in place. But as you can see what I mean, that's going to be pretty cool because it's going to pull everyone in, and then I'll be able to. So it's sort of one that you need to time quite well. So it's not one that's just going to do loads of damage, but it can be really effective obviously if you time it with a bunch of ground target AoE abilities and stuff. So you put them into the area and then do as much damage as you possibly can in a short period of time. So, you know, along with one of your other skills, maybe this one to put stacks of vulnerability on, you're going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage, you and your group. So it's pretty cool in a group situation as well. So that's the elite skill done. So the next thing I'm going to look at is the profession mechanics for the Dragonhunter, and just see how it changes the Guardian's base mechanics. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the profession mechanics for the Dragonhunter. So if you're already playing as a base Guardian, then you'll be familiar with the virtue mechanic that you'll have down here. What the Dragonhunter does, it doesn't drastically overhaul that, but it builds on those virtues and makes them more effective. So it definitely makes it better than the effects on the base Guardian, but yeah, nothing too drastic. So these 3 virtues along here, they're a bit like signets in the fact that they have a passive effect. So as we can see, as none of them are on cooldown, all 3 of these have got a passive effect that it's given us along the bottom here. So as long as they're not on cooldown, we'll always have that passive effect. And then if you're in combat and you need a more powerful effect, and we'll go through what those effects are in a second, then you can activate these virtues just by clicking on them, or obviously pressing F1, 2 or 3. So the triggering abilities are totally different from that of the base Guardian, but the actual passive effects are the same. So the first one here, Spear of Justice. So this passive ability is that it burns foes every few attacks. So every few attacks you're going to be putting burning on the enemy, which is going to do damage over time. So basically it just makes your attacks more powerful, and as you keep hitting enemies you're going to be putting stacks of burning on them, so that's going to increase your damage output. So I'll go into the active abilities afterwards, just want to go through the passive part of it. So the second one, Wings of Resolve, the passive is that it regenerates health. So this is one of the reasons why people really like to play as a Guardian, or in this case the Dragonhunter, because it's going to keep your health up, and you know, it's a constant regen of health, so effectively makes you tankier. Your third one here is Shield of Courage. So it grants Aegis periodically. So as you can see, what is it? Refresh every 40 seconds. It's going to give you Aegis for 20.5 seconds, which means that you block the next incoming attack. So every 40 seconds or so you're going to be able to block an attack. So it's pretty effective, and that will once again make you even tankier. So let's go back to our first one here, Spear of Justice, and have a look at the activate ability. So when you activate Spear of Justice, you will hurl a spear of light that passes through foes. Enemies struck become tethered and receive conditions periodically. And then as you look underneath, there is another ability you can use. So while those enemies are tethered, you can use Hunter's Verdict. So that allows you to pull all enemies tethered by the Spear of Justice to you, breaking the link. This ability's recharge is separate from that of Spear of Justice. So as you can see, Spear of Justice does last for 6 seconds, so within that you're going to have 6 seconds where you can use Hunter's Verdict if you wanted to, which is if maybe you wanted to use it to pull the enemies towards you. Obviously if you didn't want them, if you were using a ranged weapon and you didn't want the enemies pulled towards you, then you probably shouldn't use the second activate ability. But the first one is obviously going to tether the enemies, and they're going to receive conditions periodically. If you use your ability again, Hunter's Verdict, then as you said, they become untethered, so they'll lose that conditions being put on them. So do bear that in mind. So you don't necessarily want to double tap F1, you want to use it in particular circumstances depending on what you're doing. So let's give this a go. Let's see if we can get a couple in a line here and use our F1 ability on them. Alright, there you go, we can see that's tethered them. If I press it again, it should pull them towards me. Obviously it didn't work. I think it's probably to do with the target golems aren't too good at this, but effectively, as you see, it's going to pass through the enemies, become tethered, and then if you press it again, it should put them towards you. It's got a 40-second cooldown on that though, so I'll try that again in a minute maybe. But let's have a look at your F2 ability. So the activate ability is leap to a target area, healing allies in the area. So this is the ground target ability, which allows you to jump to where you target, so it's going to move you to the targeted location. You can see condition removed, it's going to heal, and it's going to heal all allies in the area. It's also got self condition removal there, can target up to 5 people in a radius of 240. The range is 800, so you can do it from relatively long range. So let's see, it's a pretty big radius. So if I do this, obviously it's not actually going to affect the enemy, but I'll go bang, and I'm going to heal all allies in the area. So potentially if I've got a bunch of allies in the same place fighting in melee, I might want to use that to jump in, heal them, and then maybe whack out a melee weapon and get some of my own attacks in there as well. So that's a pretty cool ability there that obviously complements the rest of your build, so that will always just sit there. And obviously bear in mind though that while this is on cooldown, you won't be having that passive which regenerates your health, so don't just spam this constantly. Do think about when you actually would need to use it. So we'll quickly give this F1 another go, shall we? So this was bam, and then bam. Yeah, I'm not sure why the pulling towards you part of it's not working, but I'm not too worried about it. So if you guys try that out and just see if you can get that to work properly. So your F3 here, so your activate on this one is to grant Aegis to nearby allies and create a shield in front of you that blocks attacks. You are vulnerable from the sides and behind while the shield is active. So as you can see, It lasts for 3 seconds, so it does the normal effect that you'd have with the Guardian's F3 ability, which is to give all of your allies Aegis. So you're giving it instantly to all of your allies, so they're going to block their next attack. So maybe if you're fighting a boss, you're in a hard fight or something like that, then use that, and then it's going to help keep all of your allies alive, which is good. But this has the added effect of also creating a shield in front of you that blocks attacks. But it does say, obviously, only really do it when the enemy is right in front of you, because if you're surrounded, you are going to be vulnerable for attacks from the side and behind as well. So do watch out for that. Only going to block attacks from the front. So we're not really going to be able to try this out because we've not got enemies attacking us, but just to show you the animation. There you go, I can attack, and that's going to block attacks from the front there. Everyone around me, including myself, is going to get Aegis, so we're going to block the enemy's attacks as well. So it's pretty cool for keeping them alive. It's got quite a good long cooldown though, obviously, and you won't get your passive ability in that time, so do bear that in mind. But that's pretty cool. So those are the new profession mechanics for the Dragonhunter. So like I said, nothing revolutionary there, but it does just build on the Guardian, which is an excellent class anyway. It just makes it a little bit more powerful. And ups your damage your damage output, and just makes you a little bit tankier as well. So those are the profession mechanics for the Dragonhunter. So the next thing I want to do is have a look at the actual elite specialization, the individual traits, and see how they can make your Dragonhunter even more powerful. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the elite specialization for the Dragonhunter and have a look at the individual traits that it gives you, just to see how we can make our Dragonhunter even more powerful and just do that little bit extra customization as well. So just by having the elite specialization here on your bottom row, you're going to get the ability to wield the longbow, which obviously we've already looked at. So that's just a passive ability of having a Dragonhunter. Gives you that extra weapon there. Also here, this here, basically, all this does, it says the Guardian's resolve has further increased, allowing virtues to be manifested as physical aspects and gain access to traps. So basically this is just meaning that you're able to have your trap abilities and have your upgraded virtues. So this is just a passive of having the Dragonhunter spec active, and you can see it's already made these changes. So your first choices you've got here, you've got piercing light. So this means traps gain reduced recharge and slow enemies. So if you're incorporating quite a few traps into your build, then that'd be pretty good, because that's going to mean they recharge even faster, and it's going to slow enemies down even more, so that's good. Next up, you've got dulled senses. So cripple enemies that you disable. So disables include all sorts of stuff like stun, stage, knockback, pull, knockdown, sink, float, launch, taunt and fear. So any of those, if you're putting those effects on people regularly, then you might want to do this. It's just going to cripple them as well, so it's going to add extra effects and stack up your conditions. Here you've got soaring devastation. So Wings of Resolve delivers an attack upon landing. Movement speed is increased when Wings of Resolve is not on cooldown. So Wings of Resolve is your second one here. So this means that when you leap to the enemies and heal them, you're also going to deal damage as well. So it does make that more powerful. And then, like I said, when it's not on cooldown, then you're going to be have an increased movement speed as well. So that's pretty good, because as long as you keep it off cooldown, you're going to be moving 25% faster. So that's pretty cool. Here you've got Defender's Dogma. So blocking an attack causes Justice to reach its maximum charge and reduce the cooldown of Spear of Justice. So whenever you block an attack, your Spear of Justice, this one is you're gonna increase that cooldown a little bit more as well. So here, your next choice is Hunter's Determination. So gain Aegis and cast Shards of Faith when disabled. So if you get any of those effects that lists there on you, then you're going to get Aegis on yourself, so you're going to block the next incoming attack, and you're going to cast Shards of Faith, which is a trap which deals damage and unleashes multiple fragments into the area when triggered, and each fragment grants Aegis to allies as long as they don't already have Aegis. So basically that's going to mean that if anyone uses those effects on you, they're going to regret it, because it's going to have a really powerful effect on you and your allies, so that's cool. Next up, you've got Zealot's Aggression. So deal increased damage to crippled foes. Justice's passive effect cripples enemies. So obviously it's sort of a double thing here. So you're going to deal more damage when someone's crippled, and it also means that the passive effect cripples enemies. So when you're burning every few attacks, it's also going to cripple them as well. So that's going to be really good. So it's going to stack up, and you're going to be able to do even more damage to people with that as well. So next you've got Bulwark. So Shield of Courage gains increased radius and duration. So this here, the Shield of Courage that we looked at, with the which puts the shield in front of you, is going to gain an increased radius and it's going to last longer. So that shows you then a couple of extra seconds on that, 33% radius increase. Next up you've got Pure of Sight. So deal bonus damage based on your distance to the enemy. So as you can see, minimum bonus damage 5%, maximum bonus damage 15%. So that just might want to, you know, incorporate that as well. Hunter's Fortification. So remove conditions when blocking attacks, receiving less damage when you have no conditions on you. So obviously a lot of the stuff around this build is, you know, blocking attacks, granting Aegis and stuff like that. So basically whenever you do block an attack, you're also going to remove conditions. So that's just going to help you stay alive and increase your survivability even more. Next one here is Heavy Light. So gain stability when disabling an enemy. Deal increased damage to disabled foes. So once again, it's all linked in. Whether you're going to put these disabilities on people, it's going to grant you stability, which means you're not going to be able to have you know, disabilities put on you, and also you'll be able to deal increased damage to them while they're disabled as well. And then your last up here is Big Game Hunter. Striking an enemy tethered by your Spear of Justice inflicts vulnerability and increases damage dealt. Tether duration is increased. So this is, as you can see, duration increased by 66%, so that makes that a lot better actually. And yeah, inflicts vulnerability, increases damage dealt as well. So as you can see, there's some extra effects there. So that's basically just going to buff your Spear of Justice and make that even better. Right, so that's all of the traits here on the specialization. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw together a quick Dragonhunter build, and then I'm going to do a nice quick combat demonstration to show you what it looks like when it all comes together. Alright, so just thrown together a quick little Dragonhunter build, obviously just showcasing the skills they can use. So obviously I've got the longbow here, and then my other weapon, if I use that, that's going to be the greatsword, which is sort of a must-have for the Guardian. And then I've got a bunch of traps along here. I've got the new exclusive healing and elite skills, along with 3 of the 4 trap skills there. So I'll just be demonstrating those. So let's give it a go on these target columns right now. Okay, so you go, just demonstrating that. Right, so bam.
Strong.
Alright, so that was just a quick demonstration showing off all these cool new skills. So as you can see, it can be pretty effective, and I think the Dragonhunter is incorporated into most of the you know, the power DPS builds for the Guardian. So it's pretty cool, and you're probably going to want to come to terms with all of these new skills. So that's pretty much everything for the Dragonhunter then. So if you have any questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments as well. If you want to watch a video on any of the other elite specs or the classes, then I'm doing all of those as well. So check out my playlist. And I've also got a video that shows off all of the elite specs and all of the classes in a little less detail if you don't want to sit here and watch videos that are too long. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back soon. So like and subscribe to be kept up to date. See you later.